Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Foote. We are continuing the season preview series today as we take a look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. And will they three-peat? That's the real question for the Tampa Bay Lightning throughout most of this summer. So we'll be going over if I think they could do that in today's video. So let's get right into the top point producers last season for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah, Brayden Point, who had 46 points, Andre Palat, Victor Hedman, Yanni Gourde. You realize all those first four names were not the best player on this Tampa Bay Lightning team, right? Because fifth on the team in points is Steven Stamkos, the captain. Nikita Kucherov missed all of the regular season last year. So not bad. Not bad for the depth. And you look at even some of the depth guys. Patty Maroon, he had 18 points last season. Ross Colton, 12 points. Matthew Joseph, Gaudreau. I mean, all these guys produced for the Lightning last year. And now you guys are going to say, well, they don't have a lot of those guys. And that's what we're going to get to now. So looking at the guys they lost, a decent amount of guys are off in Seattle. Or some of them are off to Seattle. Barclay Goodrow to the New York Rangers. Blake Coleman to the Calgary Flames. In free agency, Mitchell Stevens traded up to Steve Yzerman and the Red Wings. Tyler Johnson goes to the Blackhawks. Yanni Gourde taken in the expansion draft. David Savard, now a member of the team they beat in the Stanley Cup Final, the Montreal Canadiens. And Spencer Martin, who is a depth goaltender, goes up to Vancouver. So they definitely had a couple of losses this summer, to say the least. And they're going to have to replace a lot of that depth. So, who are some of the guys they replaced? Cory Perry comes in. Cory Perry is officially cup chasing now. So, we'll see if it works out for him. I love Cory Perry. It's one of those things where the last 2 years, in 2020, in the bubble, he lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning with the Dallas Stars. And in 2021, he lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup Final once again with the Montreal Canadiens. So, you can't beat him, join him. And that's what Cory Perry has done. They also bring in Pierre Belmar, who comes over from the Colorado Avalanche. He spent some time with the Vegas Golden Knights, like I said, the Avalanche, and also, before that, the Philadelphia Flyers. A pretty reliable bottom six forward. That's really what they need out of him. Potentially to replace guys like Yanni Gourde and Blake Coleman in the middle of the ice. Zach Bogogian comes back to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was with the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. He comes back to Tampa. He says, you know what? I won that cup in 2020 in the bubble. I saw how it worked with Toronto in 2021. I want to win another cup in 2022 with the Bolts. So Zach Bogogian comes back. Brent Seabrook, this is kind of a troll, but Brent Seabrook is technically under the contracts of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but he's just dead cap. He'll go on LTI, and Tampa Bay will never have to pay him anything. Brian Elliott and Christopher Gibson come in. Now, Brian Elliott was actually a goaltender that struggled last season in Philly. He was playing too much, and I think with Andrei Vasilevskiy, you don't really have to worry about that. He's going to get probably 20 starts next year at most, and I just don't. They're going to run with Andrei Vasilevskiy. With that said, though, now that I think about it, he may get closer to 25, 30 games next year in order to allow Andrei Vasilevskiy to maybe take a break. I mean, you look at all the hockey Vasi has played in the past, now it'll be 3 years. He's played a lot of hockey in a short amount of time. So Brian Elliott coming in may give a little bit of insurance and give Vasi maybe a couple nights off in order for them to maybe go for that three-peat. Christopher Gibson comes in from I think it was the Florida Panthers organization. He was a good player with the New York Islanders. He was one of the best goaltenders in Bridgeport Sound Tigers history, if you want to consider that meaning anything. And I think that's a good ad. Good stuff there. Really can't say much about that. Now looking at their lines, and things definitely look different this year. You got Andre Palat, Brayden Point, and Nikita Kucherov. That's not going to be any different, as well as Alex Killorn and Steven Stamkos. And from there, that's where this team changes a little bit. Alongside Stamkos and Killorn will be the French native Alex Bareilles. And this is a guy that has been developing with the Syracuse Crunch, like some of the guys that have recently left Tampa, like Tyler Johnson, like Yanni Gourde. Guys like Bareilles have been developing in the AHL. So we'll see how that's working out. But he looks like a pretty talented player, and seems like a guy that could jump into the lineup. He also plays center as well, so he may find himself in the bottom six as well. Now you look at the bottom 6, you got Ross Colton coming back, Anthony Cirelli coming back, and Matthew Joseph. All those guys will be coming back, so really not that different in terms of those guys coming back. Just Matthew Joseph and Ross Colton maybe getting more minutes than they were last season with the stacked team that Tampa had. And then the fourth line is actually very interesting. You have guys like Patty Maroon, big fat Pat Maroon, Pierre Edward Belmar, and Cory Perry. So that is your bottom 6. And I really like all those guys in there. And that's not even it for the depth. I mean, I really like some of the guys they have in there. You look at some of the other centers, the other forwards that could jump in there at some point from the Syracuse crunch, whether it's injuries or on the scratch pad. You have goals, guys like Jack Finley, Maxim Kajovic, Alexei Lepanyev, Otto Sampi, Remy Elie, Charles Hudon, Gabriel Dumont, Boris Kachuk, Taylor Radish, and Antoine Morand, as well as Gabriel Fortier. A lot of French guys on the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm realizing. So we'll see how that works out for their forward group. They, like I said, they have a lot of potential there. So even though they've lost a lot of guys, they have done so well in the draft. Their director of scouting and player comparisons and stuff, he has been really on the mark and has been huge for this Tampa Bay Lightning run. So now looking at the defense, you have Victor Hedman, Jan Ruda as your top pair. It's a good top pair. I'd rather somebody else there than Jan Ruda, but that could change, and we'll get to that. You also have Ryan McDonough and Eric Chernak. That group worked really well last season, so we're going to see that kind of continue. That's really not changing too much. And then you got Mikhail Sergachev and Cal Foote. Yes, the son of Adam Foote. One of his sons, at the very least. His other one is up in Jersey, Nolan Foote. So Cal Foote, projected to be a top 4 defenseman. He's had some concerns about his skating. That's what always happens with these big guys that are like 6'5" when they're 16 years old. It takes them a while to develop that skating. So there is some concerns about that with Cal Foote, but we'll see what he does in the NHL, and it may just click for him. And he kind of does replace a guy like David Savard, who Sergachev played with last season. It's just a different dynamic because Cal Foote is the youngin, and Mikhail Sergachev is going to be kind of teaching Foote the ropes on that line. He's, Cal Foote's definitely the shutdown guy, and more of the responsibility, offensive-wise, pushing the play forward will be on Mikhail Sergachev. Looking at the goaltending, we already talked about it a little bit. You got Andrei Vasilevsky returning and Brian Elliott. So a pretty good tandem. You also have Chris Gibson in there, like I mentioned. So you've got some guys there that do have some potential. So we'll see what happens there. And like I said, we got to look at the depth guys on the defensive side of the puck. You have guys like Dmitry Semyukin. Andre Schuster is officially returning from Europe, so interesting to see him in there. Jack Thompson, who just signed his ELC, and Frederick Claesson. So that's pretty much it for the depth outside of Cal Foote. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they do have guys that they can continue to develop, which, again, it's not that big of a concern. Chernak is still fairly young. Sergachev, Foote, they don't really have to worry about that. It's more the McDonoughs, the Hedmans, as they get older, as well as Jan Ruda. They may be looking on the market at the deadline next year if they're a playoff team, which I think we're expecting them to be. Tampa Bay is one of those teams I think is really going to be looking at a right-shot defenseman for a playoff run. So we'll see what happens there. And look at their cap space. They have absolutely none. They have no cap space left, and they don't really care. It's about winning the Stanley Cup and going for that three-peat, and that really is the big question in today's video. Will the Tampa Bay Lightning three-peat? And it's one of those things with the Tampa Bay Lightning. You've seen the success they've had. You don't see teams like this in the salary cap era. I mean, we saw the Pittsburgh Penguins kind of hit that corner back in, 2016 and 2017 when they won consecutive, back-to-back Stanley Cups. But other than that, in the Stanley Cup, in the salary cap era, we have not seen that. Let alone a flat cap era, which an era where we don't see the salary cap continue to, increase every year. It's even harder. And for the Tampa Bay Lightning, what they did in the playoff bubble, what they've done this year, and what they can hopefully do with going into 2022, the Tampa Bay Lightning are still a threat. And for me, I'm going to put money on the Tampa Bay Lightning, because they are the team to beat. And until a team develops enough depth to compete with the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's going to be hard to argue that this team is the team to beat. And I think we're going to see more of John Cooper and his ability as a coach, because he doesn't have this just juggernaut team. And I think that's been some of the, why he hasn't gotten Jack Adam, votes, is because of his maybe just super powered teams every year. This will be a good way to choose. Not only is he just a good motivator for good hockey players, but can he also develop young hockey players as a head coach? That's really going to be what we're going to find out from John Cooper this year. I have a lot of hope in John Cooper. He is a Hofstra University graduate, so I'm hoping he does well. So a local guy from Long Island. So we'll see what happens. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me that the Tampa Bay Lightning can three-peat as 3 consecutive Stanley Cup champions, or do you think this is the year, out of the 31 now NHL teams that are competing with the Tampa Bay Lightning, will somebody knock them out? Let me know your thoughts down below. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.